Commander Jack Nolan's shuttle plummeted through the atmosphere of Proxima Centauri b, warning lights flashing across every console as the temperature in the cabin rose to unbearable levels. The navigation system had failed catastrophically after passing through an unexpected electromagnetic storm, and now the small exploration vessel was in free fall toward the alien planet below. Mayday, Mayday. This is Terran Exploration Vessel 247, Commander Nolan piloting. I've lost all stabilizing systems and am attempting emergency landing procedures, Jack shouted into the comms, knowing full well the signal probably wouldn't reach the mothership through the storm. The shuttle's heat shields were beginning to fail, and Jack could feel the increasing temperature burning through his flight suit. Sweat poured down his face as he manually wrestled with the controls, trying desperately to establish some kind of glide path rather than a nose-first crash. The ground was approaching fast too fast. Jack pulled back on the control yoke with all his strength, managing to level the craft somewhat before it slammed into the rocky terrain. The impact was violent, throwing him against his restraints with bone-crushing force. His head smashed against the control panel, and darkness overtook him immediately. When Jack regained consciousness, his first sensation was pain-sharp, throbbing pain that radiated from his chest and left leg. He tried to move, but found himself pinned under a collapsed section of the shuttle's bulkhead. The air inside the cabin was thin and filled with acrid smoke. "Got to get out," he gasped, using his right arm to push against the metal pinning him down. With tremendous effort, he managed to shift the debris just enough to drag himself free, every movement sending waves of agony through his body. Jack's left leg was bent at an unnatural angle, and a quick assessment told him it was broken in at least 2 places. His chest felt like it was on fire, suggesting broken ribs as well. Blood trickled down his face from a gash on his forehead, and his right arm had a deep laceration from wrist to elbow. He dragged himself to the emergency supply cabinet, which had miraculously remained intact, and retrieved the first aid kit. With shaking hands, he applied a pressure bandage to his arm and injected himself with a standard-issue pain reliever. It would have to do until help arrived if help arrived. The emergency beacon was still functioning, its steady red light the only hopeful sign in the wreckage. Jack activated it, then turned his attention to the shuttle's viewports. What he saw outside made his heart sink. The landscape was alien in every sense, jagged rock formations in hues of deep purple and blue, with vegetation that resembled nothing from Earth. The sky above was a strange greenish color, and 2 moons were visible despite the daylight. He was stranded on an unexplored region of Proxima b, with no immediate prospects for rescue. Jack attempted to stand, using a piece of the broken bulkhead as a makeshift crutch. The pain was excruciating, but he managed to hobble to the shuttle's hatch and force it open. The outside air hit him like a wall thinner than Earth's atmosphere, with a metallic smell that made him cough. He had just stepped outside when he heard a low humming sound that seemed to be growing louder. Looking up, Jack saw what appeared to be a flying craft of some kind, unlike any human design he'd ever encountered. It was sleek, almost organic in appearance, with a surface that seemed to shimmer in the strange light. The craft descended rapidly, landing about 30 meters from his crashed shuttle. Jack braced himself, unsure whether to expect rescue or a threat. The side of the alien vessel opened, and 3 figures emerged. They were tall, at least 7 feet in height, with slender limbs and bodies covered in what appeared to be a combination of natural exoskeleton and clothing. Their heads were elongated, with 4 eyes positioned to give them a wider field of vision than humans. They moved with a fluid grace that belied their seemingly fragile build. One of the aliens approached Jack, making gestures that he interpreted as non-threatening. It spoke, and to Jack's surprise, a small device on its chest emitted words in heavily accented but understandable English. "Human, you're injured. We detected your crash and came to assist." Jack winced as he shifted his weight. "Thank you," I'm Commander Jack Nolan of the Terran Exploration Fleet. My shuttle malfunctioned during atmospheric entry. The alien nodded, a very human-like gesture that must have been learned from previous contact with humans. I am Zaraxel, medical officer of the Proxima Science Outpost. These are my colleagues, Neela and Vorex. We must get you to our medical facility immediately. Jack tried to take a step forward, but collapsed as his broken leg gave way. Zaraxel and Vorex moved quickly to his side, supporting him between them. Your injuries are severe, Zaraxel observed. How are you still conscious? Jack managed a pained smile. Human resilience, I guess. The aliens helped him to their craft, which was surprisingly spacious inside. The interior was lined with curved surfaces in muted colors, with no sharp edges anywhere. They carefully laid Jack on what appeared to be a medical examination platform. Zaraxel passed a handheld device over Jack's body, frowning, or making what Jack interpreted as the alien equivalent of a frown at the readings. Multiple fractures in the left femur and tibia. 3 broken ribs. Internal bleeding in the lower abdomen. Cranial contusion. Deep laceration on the right arm. Sounds about right, Jack grunted. Got any painkillers that work on humans? We have studied human physiology since first contact 5 years ago, Neela said, her voice higher and more melodic than Zaraxel's. We can provide temporary relief, but we must reach the medical center quickly. The journey to the alien outpost took approximately 20 minutes, during which Zaraxel administered a clear substance through a small device pressed against Jack's neck. The relief was almost immediate, a cooling sensation that spread through his body and dulled the worst of the pain. The outpost was a collection of dome-shaped structures nestled in a valley between 2 mountain ranges. Their craft landed on a circular pad, and Jack was transferred to a hovering stretcher guided by Vorex. Inside the medical dome, Jack was struck by how similar yet different everything was compared to human medical facilities. The equipment was more streamlined, almost artistic in design, but clearly served similar functions to the diagnostic and treatment tools he was familiar with. Zaraxel directed Jack to be placed on a central platform surrounded by various instruments. We must perform emergency treatment immediately. Your internal bleeding is worsening. Do what you need to do, Jack said, gritting his teeth as a fresh wave of pain broke through the medication. I must warn you, Zaraxel said, adjusting various controls. Our medical procedures are calibrated for Proximan physiology. While effective for humans, the process can cause extreme pain. Our pain management options for humans are limited due to your species' unique neurochemistry. Jack tried to shrug, wincing at the movement. I've been through tough medical procedures before. Do your best. Zaraxel's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. You do not understand, Commander. The cellular regeneration process we must use to repair your internal damage will stimulate every pain receptor in the affected areas. Many beings lose consciousness from the pain alone. This. Jack gestured at his broken body with his good arm. It's nothing. I've had worse training accidents back on Earth. Just do what you need to do. The alien doctor seemed skeptical, but proceeded to prepare for the procedure. A transparent dome descended over the medical platform, enclosing Jack in a controlled environment. Zaraxel and Neela positioned themselves at control stations, while Vorex monitored Jack's vital signs. We will begin with your internal bleeding, Zaraxel explained. The process uses targeted energy pulses to stimulate rapid cell division and healing, but it also triggers intense nerve responses. Just get on with it, Jack said, bracing himself. A soft blue light began to emanate from panels above him, focusing on his abdominal region. At first, Jack felt only a mild warmth. Then, without warning, it felt as if his insides were being shredded by white-hot knives. He gasped, his back arching involuntarily. That's, he panted, unexpected. Zaraxel looked alarmed. This is only the first level of treatment. We can stop if No, Jack interrupted, his voice strained.
Keep going.
I can handle it. The intensity increased, and Jack clenched his teeth so hard he feared they might crack. Sweat poured from his body, and his vision narrowed to a tunnel. He had experienced pain before: broken bones, knife wounds during combat training, even a plasma burn during a space station accident, but nothing like this. It felt as if every cell in his body was simultaneously being torn apart and reformed. Neela's voice came through a speaker. His vital signs are approaching dangerous levels. Heart rate 180 beats per minute, blood pressure critically elevated. We must pause the procedure, Zaraxel insisted. Jack, barely conscious, managed to shake his head. No, finish it. I told you. I can handle it. Zaraxel hesitated, then continued the treatment. I have never seen any being withstand this level of pain stimulus without sedation. Your species' pain tolerance is remarkable. Through gritted teeth, Jack managed a strained laugh. We've had lots of practice. Over our history. The procedure continued for another 20 minutes, though to Jack it felt like hours. By the time Zaraxel announced they had successfully stopped the internal bleeding, Jack was drenched in sweat and trembling uncontrollably, but still conscious. We must now set and heal your broken bones, Zaraxel said. This will be more intense. Jack laughed weakly. More intense? That's hard to imagine. I must insist on at least partial sedation for this phase, Zaraxel said firmly. Even with your extraordinary tolerance, the bone regeneration process might trigger shock. Jack wanted to argue but recognized the wisdom in the alien doctor's words.
All right, Doc.
Your call. Neela administered another dose of the cooling substance, and Jack felt his consciousness begin to recede, though he didn't completely lose awareness. What followed was a blur of sensation, extraordinary pain mixed with dreamlike visions and snippets of conversation between the alien medical team. When Jack fully regained consciousness, the light in the medical dome had changed, suggesting that significant time had passed. He attempted to move and was surprised to find that while still painful, his leg responded correctly. His ribs ached, but the sharp, stabbing pain was gone. Zaraxel appeared at his side. You are awake.
Good.
You have been unconscious for approximately 14 of your Earth hours. Jack slowly sat up, wincing slightly. How bad was it? The procedure was successful. Your internal bleeding has been completely resolved, and your bone fractures are approximately 60% healed. The laceration on your arm is fully closed, and the cranial contusion has been reduced. 60% healed? In 14 hours. Jack was astonished. On Earth, these injuries would have me in a hospital for weeks. Zaraxel made a gesture that Jack interpreted as modest acknowledgement. Our regenerative technology is quite advanced. However, I must express my scientific fascination with your pain response. No other species we have encountered could have remained conscious through the first phase of that procedure without complete neural blocking. Jack carefully swung his legs off the platform. Humans have a complicated relationship with pain. Throughout our history, we've often had to endure it just to survive. But your reaction was unusual even for a human, according to our database, Zaraxel noted. You laughed at my warning. Jack shrugged. Military training, maybe. Or just stubbornness. My drill sergeant used to say I was too dumb to know when to quit. Zaraxel helped Jack stand, supporting him as he tested his weight on the healing leg. You will need several days of rest before your body fully recovers, despite our treatments. I need to contact my ship, Jack said. They'll be looking for me. We have already sent a transmission to the human vessel in orbit, Neela said, entering the room. They have acknowledged and will send a retrieval shuttle once the electromagnetic storm subsides, approximately 3 Earth days from now. Jack nodded his thanks. I guess I'm your guest until then. We have prepared suitable accommodation, Neela replied. But first, Zaraxel would like to conduct some additional scans if you are willing. Your pain response has generated significant scientific interest. Jack smiled wryly. Sure, why not? It's not every day I get to be a scientific curiosity. Over the next few hours, Zaraxel conducted a series of non-invasive scans of Jack's nervous system and brain, occasionally asking him questions about his past experiences with pain and injury. You mentioned military training, Zaraxel said as he analyzed the results. Does your military specifically train for pain tolerance? Jack thought about it. Not explicitly, no. But we go through situations that test our limits: physical endurance, sleep deprivation, extreme environments. You learn to push through discomfort. Fascinating. And have you personally experienced severe injuries before? A few, Jack admitted. Broke my arm in 2 places during a training exercise when I was 22. Took a piece of shrapnel in my shoulder during a peacekeeping mission on Mars colony. Got caught in a pressure failure on Europa Station and suffered frostbite on my right hand before they sealed the breach. Zaraxel's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. Yet you described the pain of our procedure as more intense than those experiences. Oh, definitely, Jack said. What you did was, well, it was like nothing I've felt before. But pain is temporary. The alternative was bleeding out in my crashed shuttle. A pragmatic assessment, Zaraxel observed. Our scans show some unusual patterns in your pain processing pathways. They appear to have been adapted somehow. Jack frowned. What do you mean, adapted? In most species, including humans according to our database, repeated exposure to pain sensitizes the nervous system, making subsequent pain experiences more intense. Your system shows the opposite pattern, a form of neural adaptation that reduces pain's signal intensity. So, I've literally gotten used to pain? Jack asked. In simplified terms, yes. But it's more complex than habituation. Your brain has developed additional inhibitory pathways that activate during pain responses. After the scans were complete, Neela showed Jack to a room that had been adapted for human use. The furniture was scaled to his size rather than the taller Proximans, and the environmental controls were adjusted to Earth normal temperature and humidity. We have programmed the food synthesizer with human-compatible nutrition, Neela explained, indicating a panel on the wall. The database is limited, but it should provide adequate sustenance. Thank you, Jack said sincerely. Your hospitality goes well beyond what I could have expected after crash landing on your planet. Neela made a gesture that Jack had come to recognize as the equivalent of a smile. The alliance between our worlds is still new, but valued. Your safe return will strengthen our relations. Left alone, Jack tested the food synthesizer, which produced something resembling a protein bar with the approximate taste of chicken. He ate it gratefully, then stretched out on the sleeping platform, careful of his healing injuries. Despite the comfortable accommodations, sleep proved elusive. His mind kept returning to Zaraxel's observations about his pain response. Had his experiences really changed his neurophysiology that much? And what did that say about humanity as a species? The next morning, or what passed for morning in the artificial lighting cycle of the Proxima outpost, Zaraxel visited Jack with what appeared to be a medical colleague. Commander Nolan, this is Gentax, our neurological specialist, Zaraxel introduced. If you are willing, he would like to discuss your pain responses further. Jack, who had been carefully exercising his healing leg, nodded. Of course. Gentax was shorter than Zaraxel, but had the same basic physiology. His voice, translated through the device, had a more formal, precise quality. Commander, your case presents a unique opportunity to study human neuroadaptation. With your permission, I would like to conduct a controlled pain response test. Jack raised an eyebrow. You want to hurt me? For science. In a carefully measured way, yes, Gentax confirmed without any sign of humor. The test uses calibrated thermal and pressure stimuli. We would compare your responses to our baseline human data. Jack considered it briefly. Will it help your medical understanding of humans? Significantly, Gentax said. Our current data on human pain thresholds is limited and may not represent the full spectrum of your species' capabilities. All right then, Jack agreed. As long as it doesn't interfere with my healing. The test was conducted in a smaller room adjoining the main medical chamber. Jack sat with his arm extended on a supportive surface, while Gentax attached small sensors to his skin. We will begin with thermal stimuli, Gentax explained. The temperature will gradually increase. Please indicate when you first feel discomfort, and then when the sensation becomes painful. The test began, and Jack noted with interest that the temperature had to rise significantly higher than he expected before he felt the need to report discomfort. When Gentax revealed that the temperature had already passed what most humans in their database had registered as painful, Jack was surprised. Similar results occurred with the pressure tests. What Gentax described as moderate pain stimulus felt to Jack like mild discomfort. Your thresholds are approximately 60% higher than our human baseline, Gentax noted, reviewing the data. And your tolerance to the maximum stimulus you can voluntarily endure exceeds our measuring capabilities. Is that unusual? Jack asked. For any species, yes, Gentax replied. Pain serves an evolutionary purpose warning of damage. Most beings have similar relative thresholds because the warning system must activate before serious harm occurs. Zeraxel, who had been observing, added, yet your physiology suggests this adaptation does not impair your damage detection systems. You still register potentially harmful stimuli, but your processing of the signals is different. The testing continued for several hours, with breaks for Jack to rest. By the end, the alien researchers seemed both impressed and puzzled by the results. I would like to propose a theory, Zeraxel said, as they concluded. Human historical development included significant periods of warfare, physical hardship, and survival challenges, correct? Jack nodded. That's putting it mildly. Our history is full of conflicts and struggles. Perhaps your species has developed this neuroadaptation as a survival mechanism, Zeraxel suggested. Those who could continue functioning despite injury or pain would have higher survival rates in conflict situations. So, you're saying humans evolved to be pain-resistant because we kept trying to kill each other? Jack asked, finding dark humor in the idea. Not exactly, Gentax clarified. Rather, your neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself, may have been selected for because it allowed adaptation to changing threat environments, including pain conditions. Jack considered this. That actually makes sense. Throughout our history, those who could push through pain, continue fighting with injuries, travel despite illness, work despite discomfort would have advantages. Yet this adaptation varies between individuals, Zeraxel noted. Your responses are exceptional even compared to other humans we have data for. My family has a military history going back generations, Jack explained. Maybe there's something genetic there, reinforced by my own experiences and training. That evening, Jack joined the Proxima medical team for a meal in their communal dining area. The experience was fascinating, watching the aliens consume nutrient solutions through specialized openings in their exoskeletons while he ate his synthesized human-compatible food. Conversation flowed surprisingly easily, with topics ranging from the differences in their respective medical approaches to the challenges of space exploration. Jack found himself explaining human concepts like pushing through the pain and mind over matter to an increasingly intrigued alien audience. So, your entertainment media actually glorifies the ability to endure pain? Neela asked, seemingly bewildered by Jack's description of action films. Some of it does, Jack acknowledged. There's this cultural idea of the hero who keeps going despite injuries that would realistically be debilitating. Does this not create unrealistic expectations for real pain management? Gentax inquired. Jack laughed. Probably. But there's also something inspiring about it, the idea that determination can overcome physical limitations. On the morning of the third day, Jack's condition had improved remarkably. He could walk without assistance, though still with a slight limp, and the pain in his ribs had subsided to a dull ache. Zaraxel performed a final scan and declared himself satisfied with Jack's recovery. "Your bone healing is now at 85% completion," the alien doctor reported. "The remaining healing will proceed naturally over the next few weeks. I would recommend avoiding strenuous physical activity for at least 14 Earth days." "I'll try," Jack said, knowing that once back aboard his ship, duty might not allow for much rest. "Thank you for everything, Zaraxel. You saved my life." "I merely provided the medical intervention," Zaraxel replied modestly. "Your own physiological resilience was a significant factor in your recovery." A communication arrived from the orbiting human vessel, confirming that a shuttle would arrive within hours to retrieve Jack. As he gathered his few salvaged possessions from the crashed shuttle, which Vorax had collected for him, Jack found himself reflecting on his unexpected experience. When the retrieval shuttle landed at the outpost, Jack was waiting with his Proximan hosts. The human pilot and medical officer who emerged were visibly relieved to find him in relatively good condition. Commander Nolan, the medic, Dr. Rivera, greeted him. "We were expecting to find you in much worse shape based on the crash telemetry." "I had excellent care," Jack replied, gesturing to Zaraxel and the other Proximans. "Their medical technology is impressive." Dr. Rivera scanned Jack with her medical tricorder and raised her eyebrows at the readings. "These injuries would have had you in our medical bay for weeks, yet you're walking around after 3 days?" "The commander is an unusually resilient patient," Zaraxel explained. "We have documented his exceptional pain adaptation for our medical database, with his permission." "Pain adaptation?" Dr. Rivera looked intrigued. "I'd like to see that data, if possible." "I've authorized a full sharing of the information," Jack confirmed. "It might help our own medical procedures." Before boarding the shuttle, Jack turned to Zaraxel one last time. "You know, when you warned me about the pain of your procedure, I thought you were exaggerating. I've never been so wrong about anything in my life." Zaraxel's 4 eyes blinked in their characteristic sequence. "Yet you endured it, against all physiological probability." "I have learned much from your case, Commander Nolan." "And I've learned something too," Jack said thoughtfully. "Maybe what we humans consider normal isn't so normal after all." The journey back to the orbiting vessel was smooth, a welcome contrast to his chaotic arrival on Proxima B. In the ship's medical bay, Dr. Rivera conducted her own thorough examination, comparing her findings with the data provided by Zaraxel. "This is fascinating," she said, reviewing the pain response tests. "Your nociceptors show unusual patterns of habituation. The medical implications could be significant." "For treating pain, you mean?" Jack asked. "Potentially," Dr. Rivera nodded. "If we could identify the neural pathways involved in this adaptation, it might lead to new approaches for chronic pain management." Captain Lewis visited Jack in the medical bay later that day, bringing with him the official incident report for Jack to review. "Quite an adventure, Commander. How are you feeling?" "Surprisingly good, sir," Jack replied. "The Proximan medical techniques are remarkable." "So I've heard," Lewis said. "Dr. Rivera is quite excited about their data on your pain responses. She's already requested permission to establish a joint research project with their medical team." Jack smiled. "I never thought crashing my shuttle would advance interspecies medical cooperation." "That's exploration for you," Lewis chuckled. "You never know what you'll discover even about ourselves." As the ship prepared to leave orbit and continue its mission, Jack stood at the observation deck, watching Proxima be slowly recede from view. His encounter had been brief, but profound, offering insights not just into alien medical technology, but into human physiology itself. He thought about Zaraxel's theory that humanity's troubled, conflict-filled history had shaped their neural responses to pain in ways that were still being discovered. There was something both troubling and hopeful in that idea. The same adaptations that had helped humans survive their own violence might now serve them well as they ventured into the wider universe, facing new challenges and environments. Jack's communicator beeped, calling him to the bridge. His legs still ached slightly as he walked, a reminder of how close he had come to death on the alien world below. But as Captain Lewis had said, that was exploration venturing into the unknown, facing whatever came, and somehow finding a way through. As he took his position on the bridge, ready to continue the mission despite his recent ordeal, Jack couldn't help but smile. Maybe that resilience, that ability to endure, adapt, and continue forward despite pain and adversity was humanity's greatest strength after all. Not because pain meant nothing to them, but because they had learned, through their long and difficult history, that they could endure it and still move forward. The starship accelerated, leaving the Proxima Centauri system behind and heading toward new worlds, new challenges, and new discoveries. And Jack Nolan, still healing but ready for whatever came next, watched the stars stretch before them, endless possibilities in the void.